Today I'm sharing a story about building your investment portfolio while working a 9-to-5 job. I'll break it down in a simple, clear way to show you that building wealth is absolutely possible, even with a 9-to-5. Marcus used to think wealth was for other people, not because he was lazy, not because he didn't try, but because every story he heard sounded the same. You need a business. You need multiple income streams. You can't get rich working a 9-to-5. So Marcus believed the lie. And every morning at 7:12 a.m., coffee in hand, laptop bag over his shoulder, he stepped onto the same train feeling like time was slipping through his fingers. He wasn't broke, but he wasn't free. And deep down, he thought the clock had already decided his future. What Marcus didn't know was that the very thing he thought was holding him back, his 9-to-5 job, was actually the most powerful wealth-building tool he had. The paycheck of Marcus came every 2 weeks without any drama. No guessing, no hoping, no chasing clients. It appeared regardless of whether he was inspired or tired. In the beginning, it was that predictability that was boring. He later found that it was powerful. Such a paycheck was a guarantee. It meant his rent was covered. It was that he could think months instead of days. It was that he did not need to have to make desperate choices in the event that something had gone awry. Over the years, Marcus had been spending his income as an item to be consumed. Money would arrive and go as quick. He could not see it pile up into anything significant. That's when the shift began. One day, Marcus was sitting in his couch and scrolling through his bank application. His money was pouring in, and it was not going out in any meaningful place. Through his account, it went like water through open hands. He posed himself a question in which he had never thought of heavily, and that is, what is it that I hate about my job? What is it that supports the dream? That question did not at first thrill him. It scared him, since it implied accountability. It was not the system itself that was the problem, it was that he could control the more than he thought, and mastery overturns everything. Marcus was no longer able to think like an employee who was awaiting the raises and promotions to bail her out. He began to reason as if he were to make a portfolio brick by brick. Portfolio was no longer stocks to him. It was a construction that guarded him against inflation, against uncertainty, and against living on one paycheck indefinitely. His job became the fuel. The portfolio turned into the driving force. As soon as he viewed it in that light, he stopped being ambitious to quit. Liberty was the aspiration. The greatest error Marcus had made was to trust himself to invest whatever was left. Nothing was ever left. So he changed the order. When his paycheck came, dollars were automatically transferred into investments and savings. No emotion, no second guessing. What remained in his checking account was what he could spend with no conscience. This was not a matter of strictness. It consisted of eliminating friction. And gradually, nearly without being detected, his business existence began to steady. The first investment that Marcus remembers hovering over was the confirm button. His chest felt tight. Not because he was taking a great risk, but because he was doing a new thing. He kept it simple. Broad market investments, long-term thinking, no fixation on daily activities. Initially, the figures did not vary much. But Marcus came to understand one thing. Progress does not have to be exciting to work. That lesson stayed with him. Months and years passed. Marcus continued to invest in good and bad months. He was not a panickist when markets were down. When markets were booming, he was not in a hurry to spend money. He also learned to believe in time rather than emotion. At some point, his portfolio began to increase more quickly than what he contributed. The increased growth of compounds took a very small but invisible step. This was the time when Marcus understood that a fortune could not be made in a second. It's built in consistency. Marcus started to take his job as a training ground instead of perceiving it as a dead end. He got to know how to communicate more effectively, solve more difficult problems, and make himself valuable. He demanded increments and supported his claim. He undertook such work that challenged him. His salary was growing, yet his style of living did not change much. The surplus money did not go into luxury. It directly entered into building leverage. Marcus saw what most people are unlikely to take the time to observe. Many people are not earning enough, but that is why they feel broke. This is due to the fact that with each rise in income, lifestyle increases as well. Bigger apartment, nicer car, more expensive habits. Marcus preferred restraint over restriction. He lived his life without allowing spending to compromise his future. It was that decision that gave his investments as much momentum as the capital itself. One afternoon, Marcus has looked at his portfolio and waited longer than he usually does. The numbers weren't flashy, but they were solid. Without overtime work, without worrying, without having to pursue anything, his money had increased. His work seemed optional in spirit at least, first ever. And that feeling made him act differently on arriving at work the following day. It is something many people fail to grasp, and Marcus finally realized it. A 9-to-5 isn't a cage, it's a shield. It defends you as you construct something greater behind the scenes. It gives you patience. It gives you clarity. It allows you to play the long game as others burn out by trying to shortcut the process. The thing is that calm will always work better in the long term than panic. On the surface, the life of Marcus was a normal one. Same commute, same desk, same schedule. However, internally, things were different. Money was no longer a worry for him. He did not fear minor disappointments. He was aware that his future was moving on, even when it seemed like a slow day. Wealth doesn't need applause. It needs time. Marcus did not simply wake up one day and quit his job. Instead, he built leverage. He negotiated for flexibility and selected superior opportunities. He stopped saying yes out of fear. Liberation did not arrive as a single event. It arrived as a collection of options. It was not after his portfolio reached a specific number. It was not when his salary reached a record goal. It was a normal evening on a Tuesday. A meeting got canceled. A deadline moved. And first, Marcus knew he was not even stressed about it. Not that he did not care, but that his whole life did not hinge on how much he made on a paycheck, how he made a decision, or how he was treated by his boss. That's when it hit him. Wealth isn't just money, it's breathing room. It is the capacity to take time to respond. It is having the confidence that you can say no. It is time to think and not rush with each decision. Marcus began to gauge the progress in terms of the amount he was earning, and began to gauge it by the amount of fear he experienced. The job still existed, the work still mattered. No more did it characterize his value or govern his destiny. And that was when he realized that he was actually becoming wealthy, and not merely adding figures to a screen, but getting back to owning his life. When you have a 9-to-5 job and are getting bored, then know this. Your career is not destroying your future. Misuse of it is. You already possess things that are coveted by many people, a constant flow of money and time. Combine those with deliberate investment, disciplined spending, and patience, and you are bound to get rich. Start now. Start small. Start where you are. If this story has altered your perception of work, share it with someone who feels like a prisoner. Do it to keep these conversations alive. Subscribe if you want no hype advice on how to build wealth step by step. Since you aren't looking to quit your job tomorrow, the goal is to build a life where one day you no longer need permission. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.